Welcome to Casstor Software Solutions product demonstration video for LogFilter, the log file editing tool with advanced filtering capabilities. In this video, we'll go over basic log file filtering. With log files started, we'll open a couple of log files to work with. The files that we'll be working with have simulated data for SIP voice over internet phone calls. If you are not familiar with SIP internet call protocols, that's okay. We're just going to use these files to illustrate how LogFilter can be used to filter data to allow you to quickly and easily focus in on the data that you're interested in. Both of these files have data that is representative of what you would typically find in a log file. There's often a lot of data to sift through, and much of this data may not be related to the issue you're investigating. Now that we have two files open, we'll arrange them side by side in order to highlight some of the features of LogFilter. If I page down through the file, what I'm looking for is data that shows the actual SIP message. I've highlighted the contents of the SIP message, which is an outbound SIP invite request. What I'd like to do is find all of the SIP messages in this log file. With the advanced filtering capability of LogFilter, I can define filters that can be used to match the data I'm interested in. By clicking the Filter button on the main toolbar, we can bring up the Filter Settings dialog box. You can also type Ctrl-L to bring up this dialog box. The first thing you should notice is that at the top of the dialog box, the name of the active file is specified. If I select the other file and make that the active document, you'll see that the file name in the Filter Settings dialog changes to match the active document. Each document has a set of filter settings associated with it, and whenever you change the active document, the Filter Settings dialog box will update to display the filter settings for the active document. In my log file of simulated SIP calls, I know that all SIP messages have a greater or less than symbol along with two hyphens that indicate if the SIP message is outgoing or incoming. I'll specify the filter string for outgoing SIP messages and click the Add Filter button. You can see that the filter string is listed in the filter table below, but nothing has changed in the document window. Filter settings aren't applied to a document until you click the Apply Filter Settings to Document button. If I now press the Apply button, you'll notice two things have changed. The first thing to notice is that the active document window now only contains lines from the log file that include the specified filter string. The other thing to notice is that the background color of the document window has changed to a pale blue color to indicate this document is currently filtered. While this type of filtering may be of limited usefulness, the power of LogFilter can be seen when we add multiple filters. We'll add another filter to include lines with inbound SIP messages and click Apply. Now we can see at a high level the flow for this SIP call. We start with an outbound invite message. The remote side responds with ringing. And 2 seconds later, we receive a 200 OK, which puts the call in the connected state. We immediately respond to the 200 OK by sending an acknowledge. The call is active for about 24 seconds, and then the teardown of the call is initiated by the local side sending a bye, and the remote side responds 2 seconds later with a 200 OK. Now, if we want to see the SIP call flow for the other log file, we can copy the filter settings by clicking the Copy All Filters button. Then we can switch to the other log file and press the Paste All Filters button, and then click Apply. Now we can see that the first log file is for an inbound SIP call, and the second log file is for an outbound SIP call. At any point, I can click the Delete Filter button on the toolbar or press Ctrl-D, and this will delete the filters applied to the document and return me to the original unfiltered document. This is useful, but what if we want to dive into this more deeply and look at more than just the type of SIP message being transmitted? We've now switched to a different log file that contains data from multiple SIP calls. If we apply the inbound and outbound filters like before, we can now see that there's an inbound and outbound SIP call. However, it's difficult to determine what messages go with each call. If I delete the filters, I can search for the first SIP message by typing Ctrl F to bring up the Find dialog and enter the string we specified for the outbound filter. Now I know in my particular example, I can use the call ID field in the SIP message to identify the SIP messages associated with a particular call. I can see that the SIP invite request is 4 lines before the call ID field. We'll delete all of the current filters and just add a single filter that specifies the call ID we're interested in. However, we'll configure the filter so that when a match is found, we'll output 4 lines before the match and 4 lines after the match. We'll now apply the call ID filter, and now we can see the SIP messages for this call along with some of the headers for those messages. This is a good example of working with a log file where you're looking for a specific event or data in that log file, and you want to see the log file output surrounding that event or data. If we look at the result of the filter applied to this document, we can see that we're not getting all of the data for some of the SIP messages. In addition to this, we're also picking up some lines in the log file that we're probably not interested in. If you're working with log file data that is predictable and you know what you're looking for, one thing that LogFilter allows you to do is define a set of filters that can be saved and loaded between different sessions of LogFilter. What we'll do here is go back to the original unfiltered document and search for the SIP invite request. And then we'll add a bunch of filters so we can filter all of the content from the SIP messages. So we'll delete the existing filter and we'll add the outbound and inbound filter. For some of these filters, I'll include the whitespace characters before the string I'm interested in so I can avoid accidental matches. Okay, we've skipped forward and we've added a bunch of filters, and now when we click the Apply button, we're able to see all of the data for all of the SIP messages. We can now avoid having to enter all of this information in each time we load a log file by saving the set of filters to an external file. We'll call this filter file sip.flt. So now we'll exit LogFilter and start it up again. We'll open the same log file again, and this time we'll load the filter settings we just saved. Click the Apply button, and now we can see all of the SIP messages in the log file. Another helpful feature is that if we open another log file, we can then copy the filter settings from the first file and then paste them into the filter settings for the second document. Click the Apply button, and now we can see all of the SIP messages in that file. Thank you for choosing LogFilter, and be sure to check out our other product demonstration videos to help you learn more about what LogFilter can do for you. If you have any questions or concerns that are not addressed in our video series, feel free to send us a message through the support page located on our website.